Wish we were sharing an umbrella, Amy. Amy, I should have made up my mind sooner.
Alright, now once again, this video is sponsored by Yahaha. Now this is a brand new user-generated content creation platform for 3D multiplayer interactive experiences. Now did that sound like a mouthful? Okay, let me break it down for you. With Yahaha, anyone can create and publish their virtual experiences without any coding experience or server knowledge. Simply use the available templates, components, and smart assets in Yahaha Studios to make your dream games. Now, this is how easy the process to make your own creation on Yahaha Studios is. And the fun part is playing it later in the playtest mode, like so. Just check out the different templates, pick a behavior component, then pick your favorite 3D asset, drag it next to your spawn point, add the component, and click on the play button to enter playtest mode. See how easy that was? So, click the link below and start creating your dream games in Yahaha for free. Hey guys, what's up? Alright, so how's everyone enjoying Sonic Frontiers? The game has now been out for a couple of weeks now, exactly 3 weeks to be precise, and you know, I'm loving this game so far. It has its flaws, definitely. It's not a perfect game by any means, but it's a very fun game, and Sega can definitely improve on that. By the way, if you guys have not watched my review on Sonic Frontiers, I highly recommend you do, because it's about a 50-minute long review where I discuss everything from the music to the story to the gameplay. So you definitely want to watch that right now before you watch this video, actually, because I'm not even going to discuss that. I'm just going to skim through things here and talk about some news. So if you want to know what I think about the game, watch that review. I won't even tell you my score here. Anyways, we got some news to discuss about Sonic Frontiers, also the Game Awards, as well as some Sonic Prime stuff. But before I do all that, be sure to smash that like button, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's see if we can get to 100k subs. Alright, so according to GoNintendo.com, Sonic Team leads call Sonic Frontiers the cornerstone of future Sonic games. New frontiers, indeed. It says Sonic Frontiers is a bold departure for the Sonic series, retaining Sonic's signature speed while adding open world gameplay into the mix. Some fans may still be wondering whether this is what Sonic games will look like going forward, or if Frontiers is just a one-off. Well, in a new interview with Sector.sk, Sonic Team head Takashi Iizuka clarifies that this is meant to be the start of a new era. Which is great, because in my review I was like, I hope Sega does not switch up on us like they did with Lost World. I know Iizuka said before in the past last year that Frontiers is going to define the next decade of Sonic games, but Iizuka always says things and then he, you know, goes back, he backpedals on what he says, so I never really trust what he says completely. You know, when he said we never see classic Sonic again after Generations, we saw classic Sonic again in Forces. So I'm glad that this has now been repeated by Sonic Team lead Iizuka as well as Sega. Sonic Frontiers is set to set a new template, just like Sonic Adventures did in 1998. Or Sonic Adventure. What does this mean for the game and players? That was a question. Iizuka answers, yes, you are right. Just like Sonic Adventure, our goal for Sonic Frontiers was to create a game that would be the cornerstone of future Sonic games. It is a brand new approach for the franchise, but we have been conscious to honor Sonic's roots as well. The game still needs to feel like a Sonic game. Now, Sonic games have experimented in the past, but many of them certainly fell into a familiar formula after the release of the 3D Sonic Adventure titles. It sounds like that's exactly what the team is hoping to achieve with Frontiers, and that its open world gameplay is set to become a mainstay of the franchise. We'll have to wait and see exactly what form the next Sonic game takes. Until then, you can read the full interview with Iizuka, in which he elaborates on exactly how they combined elements of old and new for Sonic Frontiers. Okay, so this is not the full interview. Let's see. The full interview came out a couple days ago, about a week ago. Now, there is one question I want to address in this Q&A interview. The interviewer says, we know that this story is different in tone from those of the previous games. Why did you decide to take this approach? What is the story of the game going to be about? And Iizuka says, the story takes place after Sonic Forces and Team Sonic Racing, where Sonic, Amy, and Tails travel to the Starfall Islands in search of the elusive Chaos Emeralds. Sonic sets out alone to find and help his friends, but as he uncovers the mysteries of the island, he is drawn into a different, larger goal. It has been a pleasure to work with Ian Flynn, who has been an active contributor to the Sonic franchise for a long time. He knows the characters well and brought great development to their emotions and interactions. Alright, so the most important thing is the first sentence Iizuka says here. The story takes place after Sonic Forces and Team Sonic Racing. We know it takes place after Forces, but Team Sonic Racing is canon? Out of all the Sonic Racing or party games, Team Sonic Racing was the only racing Sonic game with a story in it. You know, it actually had a story mode, making it canon. You know, the only other racing games I can think of that's part of the canon is like Sonic Rivals, but that's on handheld devices like PlayStation Portable. I'm talking about the consoles. Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing and Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed is not canon in any way because you're playing as Sonic characters and other Sega franchise characters, as well as like Wreck-It Ralph and even like real life people like Danica Patrick, who is a NASCAR racer. So that's obviously not canon. But Team Sonic Racing, you know, they went out of their way to introduce a new character, the Donpa and all that. So that's crazy that Team Sonic Racing is canon and after Forces. So after Eggman took over the world and fuck Sonic's world and all that with Infinite, they all decided just to go and race. Now, I don't know the full story of Team Sonic Racing because I never really cared about that game, but I'm sure Eggman's in that game. And then after Team Sonic Racing, we got Sonic Frontiers. That's crazy. You know, it's very interesting that Iizuka mentioned Team Sonic Racing, which is such a lackluster game, but the story still counts in the canon. Before I continue, see how Sega and Iizuka mentions that Frontiers is the cornerstone of modern Sonic gameplay. Now, if you guys remember a couple years ago, that chart that was made by the Geek Critique called the Sonic Team Cycle. Now, I don't really want to use this as like gospel because it's more of a theory, but it really aligns now more than ever after we've gotten Frontiers. You know, it's funny how that works, the new formula. Let's read that here. If you look at this, starts with the first 3D Sonic game, Sonic Adventure, and Sonic Adventure 2 established a successful gameplay formula. Then it goes to Sonic Heroes, which is the first multi-platform title that ditched the adventure formula to try and appeal to non-fans. We know this for a fact because it was the first third-party Sonic game on the consoles. It was on the Nintendo console, so it was trying to appeal to non-Sonic fans. And then we go to Sonic 06, which attempted to bring back the successful formula, the adventure formula, but went through development hell. Then from there we go to the handheld series, or Sonic Rush, which was a formula released between Heroes and 06, which is brought to 3D, which was the boost formula with Sonic Unleashed. And then we have Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, and Sonic Generations, which established another successful gameplay formula. You know, the boost linear gameplay formula. Then from there we go to Sonic Lost World, which was a, like, we thought it was Sonic Extreme, but it was pretty much a Mario Galaxy ripoff formula, which ditched, again, the tried and true formula to appeal to Nintendo fans due to the game being a Nintendo exclusive. Then from there we go to Sonic Forces, which tried to bring back the proven formula, the boost formula, and presumably be a send-off to all previous eras, but went through development hell, like 06. And then from there, we get it's not a handheld, but it's like a game. It wasn't supposed to be a AAA title or whatever, or AA, but it's Sonic Mania, which was a formula released between Lost World and Forces, but will it be brought to 3D? My answer to that is yes, because with Sonic Frontiers, we get some new things in that, like the drop dash. That's the first time ever that drop dash is in a 3D Sonic game played by Modern Sonic. And there's a lot of little Mania things that are in this game, but the most important thing is that it's open zone, you know, multiple paths. It's that kind of open world environment that fans have been trying to do for several years, like from Sonic Utopia to all that, and Sonic Utopia has classic Sonic in it. So while I don't think the cycle fits 100%, it definitely aligns well, because from Sonic Mania can lead to Sonic Frontiers, which is a new formula that we'll be seeing with Modern Sonic. And it's still going to retain the boost formula, but it's also going to bring back a lot of things, some things from Mania, some things from Adventure. It's like it's combining a lot of things and making it into its own new formula, which is the open zone formula, which I love. You know, taking elements from the adventure games, you know, the boost games, and even Mania. And with Sonic Frontiers being the cornerstone of future Sonic games, could we be getting a direct sequel to Sonic Frontiers? Maybe something like Sonic Horizons or something like that, because we are getting Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is a sequel to Breath of the Wild. I have a feeling we're going to get a sequel to Frontiers, especially after that ending in Frontiers. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to get a sequel because there's a lot that needs to be expanded upon and polished with Frontiers. So I really want to see that in a sequel. So I don't know. I feel like we're going to get a sequel to Frontiers as early as 2025, as late as 2026. Now let's move on to the graphics. Now, I did say in my review that the graphics are the best yet for a Sonic game in Frontiers, but there's a lot of critics who thought the graphics weren't that great looking. Some thought it was kind of ugly. And I think the reason for that is because unlike Unleashed or even 06 or whatever, Sega was making Sonic Frontiers starting with the Nintendo Switch and moving on up to the PS5. So if it couldn't run on the Switch, they weren't going to increase the graphic level, because if you look at the Switch version and the PS5 version, the Switch version is just a downgraded version of that. Whereas with Unleashed, they had to completely remake Unleashed for the Nintendo Wii. I mean, it was Dimps that made that, and 06 wasn't even on a Nintendo system, you know? I feel like in order for the graphics to truly be realized for the next Sonic game, they're going to kind of have to ditch the Switch, and I don't want that because Sonic games sell very well on the Switch. You know, when it comes to consoles, Sonic always sells the highest on Nintendo systems, and I don't think Sega's going to neglect the Nintendo system, you know? Because besides Nintendo, then you got PlayStation. I don't think Sonic sells well on Xbox systems, but Sega is not going to turn down a Nintendo system. What Nintendo needs to do is make a successor to the Switch very soon. Hopefully we get a successor to the Switch in 2024 or something with 4K graphics and all that. The graphics in Sonic Frontiers are better than Unleashed, but you know, it doesn't reach its full potential because Sega made it with the Switch in mind. That being said, you know, Sonic Team is already issuing patches. They've already released a new patch that fixed some minor bugs with Frontiers, but it's only for the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC systems. Completely neglects the Nintendo Switch. Now I'm like, oh man, come on, Sonic Team. How can you make Frontiers downgraded for the Switch, but you're not even going to make a patch for it? So I don't think there's going to be a patch for the Switch version, but it's whatever. You know, I'm going to get the game again soon on the Steam and on the PS5 when I get a PlayStation 5. Now, another thing I mentioned in my review was how I loved it, how Ian Flynn took the story back to Sonic's Shonen roots. And you know, I've always been wanting Sonic to be a Shonen again. But one person did remind me that there's another level that's higher than Shonen, that doesn't just appeal to young teenagers, but to older teenagers and young adults. It's called Seinen, Seinen. And there's also an article here, but it's in Japanese. It says, according to Kishimoto, the story of Sonic Frontiers is more Seinen than Shonen. That explains why it's very somber and gloomy. And I like that. I know not everyone's going to like that, but I do. And the article's in Japanese, so I can't really translate that. But one of my subscribers commented to explain it. He said, you actually be surprised to know that Kishimoto took the story a step further and wrote it as a seinen. He wants Sonic stories to gear more towards young adults, as stated in an interview. This is why the story may have felt darker and less lighthearted than any of the shonen stories, since this is a seinen. I kind of want them to take it a step further and just make Sonic a T-rated franchise and continue this seinen writing style. I don't know about that, but I like that. You know, I really appreciate that they took the story. The story just needed some polishing. I talk about it in my review. It needed to not feel rushed. It needed some polishing, and it definitely needed to stick the landing in the end. You know, because I could tell they were going for a Shadow of the Colossus vibe, and they just didn't stick the landing there. But speaking of which, there were a lot of things that were cut in Sonic Frontiers, especially when it comes to the story. I talk about that in my review. There's actually a Twitter page that's called the Sonic Frontiers Facts that just dumps a lot of things and stories that were cut. But I was going to link you guys to that Twitter page, but it's been taken down. I don't know if it got deactivated or suspended by Sega Shinobis. I don't know, but the page doesn't exist anymore. But when I do find it, or if the person makes another page, I will definitely link that. But yeah, like I said in my review, this game should have only been like 4 zones. You know, Kronos, Ares, Chaos, and Rhea being the last island. 4 zones, like Sonic 4. A lot of people agree with me that Uranus was a pace killer, and it really dragged on at that point. You know, I've seen a lot of people speedrun this game. At first, I thought you could speedrun this game using Big's Fishing to cheese it, but I've seen a lot of speedruns already of Frontiers where, you know, the gamers are literally breaking the levels in under 2 hours, beating the entire game in under 2 hours. It's crazy. You know, you guys should just search them up on YouTube. You'll find it. But if anything, the biggest compliment I can give to Sonic Frontiers is the controls and physics of the open world or open zone areas. That's the biggest compliment, you know, and it's crazy because I've never really commended any 3D Sonic game for its controls, even Generations. I mean, Generations, the level design was great. You know, Sonic's stiff controls in Generations helped with that gameplay. But I never really commended Sonic's controls since the adventure games, and Frontiers impressed me with that. So yeah, not the cyberspace, just the open zone. This year's a complete opposite of 2017, because 2017 Mania was the goated game, whereas Forces was the mid to trash game. And then this year's completely reversed. Frontiers is the really good game, and Origins is the meh game. So, you know, it's funny, starting out this year, I was thinking it would be the same as 2017, especially when I heard that some of Christian Whitehead's team was working on Origins, but we already know how that went. So yeah, it's funny, you know, sometimes history repeats itself and sometimes it's the complete opposite. But yeah, now let's talk about the Game Awards. You know, there's some people that have been suspecting that we're going to get another like new announcement of the next Sonic game coming out next year for the Game Awards, and I highly doubt that. Some people are thinking it's going to be that 2D modern Sonic game that we've been hearing is coming next year. I highly doubt it. Frontiers just came out. Sega is not going to just move on to the next Sonic game, not when we're going to get a lot more DLC for Frontiers. But there is a new voting poll with Sonic Frontiers that Sega is really promoting and pushing. And Sonic fans are coming through. Last time I checked, Sonic Frontiers was running in second place, but I'm pretty sure it's going to win. I'm pretty sure it's going to take the W. I don't even care. Sonic Frontiers is honestly not a game of the year, but I don't care. I'm still voting for it because this is not even a game of the year nomination category. It's like, I forgot the name of the category. I think it's People's Vote or People's Choice. So I'm voting Sonic Frontiers because all those other games I never played. I haven't played Valorant or Elden Ring or anything like that. So I just want Sonic Frontiers to get a W at the Game Awards because the Game Awards are always ignoring Sonic games. Like, Sonic Frontiers could have easily been nominated for Best Score and Music, and it wasn't. But I digress. I talked about that in my review. Now on to Sonic Prime. I don't have much to say about Sonic Prime. There were actually some new renders that dropped a while ago. I think it was yesterday. No, on the 27th of November, so a couple days ago. Yeah, it says breaking. We have our first look at new Sonic Prime merchandise from Totem. XXL Sonic Prime sticker set features multiple versions of Sonic and his friends from different multiverses. So we seen it just like we saw in the trailer. I didn't cover the latest Sonic Prime trailer because, you know, it looks decent. I will watch it, but I'm not like massively hyped for this. And let me just read someone's tweet about Sonic Prime because this is exactly how I feel about the show. This person says Sonic Prime using its own set of alternate Sonic worlds rather than content from the myriad of different official Sonic media is a bit lame. They obviously want to do a Spider-Verse thing, but Spider-Verse was cool because the other Spider-Men were based on existing media. We have yet to see an official Sonic crossover on the scale of Spider-Verse, which is ridiculous because it's practically the perfect franchise for it. Sonic media has insane variety. Even the 3 Deke Sonic shows had wildly different tones and ideas from one another. With Wildbrain owning some degree of rights to the Deke shows, I'm even more confused. It's not like I'm a super fan of this stuff, but it feels like Sega wants to pretend media like SatAM and Boom never existed. Prime would have been the perfect way to use it again. Sonic has so much media, especially when it comes to shows and cartoons, but they're not recognizing them. Like, I would have been way hyped for Sonic Prime if like he visited like the SatAM world or like the Underground world or Adventures of Sonic or Sonic X world or Sonic Boom. I think it would have been really cool if he visited the Sonic Boom world because it's 3D animated just like Prime, but you know, Sega's not going to do that. The only world that looks very interesting to me, or the only parallel universe, is the one where Eggman took over the world. That's about it. The other ones are kind of generic, like the prehistoric world or the pirate world. So yeah, it just lets me know that this show is mostly geared for kids. Like, I'm not even talking shonen, like it's Y7 kids. So I'm gonna watch it because I'm a Sonic fan, but I'm not like really hyped for it. But yeah, that's all I have for today. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about all this. Are you excited for Sonic Prime? And also, are you looking forward to Sonic Frontiers winning something at the Game Awards? Also, what do you think about what Iizuka said about Frontiers being the mainstay for future Sonic games? And what did you think about Frontiers? How many times have you played it? Also, stay tuned for Sonic Rebound Episode 6. That's coming sometime in December. Hopefully, we're going to try to put it out before the year is over. And I also got another secret animation that's going to come out around the same time. So stay tuned for all of that. But that's all I have for now. So take care. And until next time, I'm out.